Chris Perez surprised millions when he publicly announced, "Don Abraham and I are united for Selena." Hours later, Abraham Quintanilla backed that up on Univision. "Chris and I stand together to protect her legacy." 2 sentences, 30 years in the making. This story tracks every mile that led to that rare moment of agreement. The secret 1992 wedding that lit the first spark of tension, the heartbreak of 1995, legal battles over Selena's image, and the slow thaw that began at the 2016 Walk of Fame ceremony. Each step tightens the timeline until the 2025 parole-denial week forces both men to choose unity over distance. Stay through the final act to hear the single line Chris says unlocked Abraham's forgiveness, and learn how their new alliance could shape Selena's 30-year remembrance. On the afternoon of April 2, 1992, a 20-year-old Selena Quintanilla and 22-year-old guitarist Chris Perez slipped into the Nueces County Courthouse and signed a marriage license. No press, no parents, just 2 witnesses and a justice of the peace. For Selena, secrecy felt protective. Her father, Abraham Quintanilla, had repeatedly warned that dating could distract from touring. 3 days later, when a local DJ discovered the license on the public record, the story exploded across Spanish-language radio. Abraham learned of the marriage at the same moment as the fans. His reaction was swift and televised. In a Chris TV doorway interview, he called the elopement immature and suspended Chris from the band. Selena, caught between family and husband, held a private meeting in the Quintanilla living room. She argued the marriage changed nothing professionally. Chris pledged to follow any schedule Abraham set. Within 2 weeks, Abraham reinstated him for the good of the show. But insiders remember rehearsals full of clipped conversations and logistical instructions delivered through third parties. The group still sounded tight on stage, yet the personal hurt lingered. That rift framed every future disagreement. Decisions about merchandise, licensing, even holiday gatherings now navigated 2 emotional channels. Family hierarchy on one side, Chris's quiet partnership with Selena on the other. The fissure never went public again in loud statements, but it was there, shaping body language at press junkets and after-show dinners. When tragedy arrived 3 years later, the unresolved tension over that secret wedding would color how both men processed grief and control. March 31, 1995. Selena's death hit both men with equal force but sent them down different emotional highways. Abraham pivoted into crisis manager mode. For days he stood before courthouse microphones, thanking detectives, updating fans, and demanding maximum sentencing for Yolanda. Behind the scenes, he locked down Selena's business affairs, filing trademarks for everything from clothing lines to future recordings under the newly formed Selena estate. Chris Perez recoiled from the spotlight. He completed a handful of contractual shows with the band, then retreated from Corpus Christi to San Antonio, spending long nights in a home studio recording guitar fragments that never made it to public ears. Friends describe bouts of insomnia, recurring nightmares of the motel corridor, and a guilt loop. What if he had insisted on going with her that morning? Public intersection points grew rare. Court transcripts show Chris seated with the Quintanilla family during Yolanda's trial, yet no journalist captured shared conversations. In 1997, when Warner Brothers released the biopic Selena, Abraham served as executive producer, guiding everything from casting to wardrobe replication. Chris's involvement was minimal. He attended the Hollywood premiere but skipped most press. By 2001, the separation felt permanent. Abraham opened the Selena Museum at Q Productions and launched a children's scholarship fund. Chris toured with the Chris Perez Band, releasing Resurrection, an album dedicated to Selena that later won a Grammy. Both honored her memory, but from parallel lanes, Abraham through official legacy projects, Chris through personal art and seclusion. Their public statements remained respectful yet noticeably separate, keeping the rift alive beneath layers of mutual loss. A dormant tension roared back in 2012. Chris signed a deal with Celebra, an imprint of Penguin Random House, to publish to Selena, With Love, a memoir promising untold stories of their life together. When advanced chapters reached media outlets, Abraham's attorneys filed suit in Nueces County District Court, citing breach of a 1995 estate agreement that limited commercial use of Selena's image without family approval. Legal filings became tabloid fodder. Chris argued the memoir was protected personal experience, not merchandise. The estate countered that Selena's brand, her name, photographs, even signature phrases, were collectively owned assets. Fans split into camps. Some defended Chris's right to mourn publicly, others supported Abraham's guardianship over Selena's legacy. Inside the courthouse, the dispute turned granular. How many unpublished photos could Chris print? Could he reprint Selena's personal notes? After a year of depositions and mounting legal fees, both sides reached a confidential settlement in August 2013. The memoir stayed on shelves, but a narrowly worded addendum granted the estate final refusal rights over any film or series adaptation. Chris retained earnings from book sales. The estate secured oversight of future brand uses. The lawsuit left emotional residue, yet established a rule both parties found useful. Disagreements would now channel through contracts rather than press conferences. In later interviews, Chris admitted the court battle hurt, but at least put guidelines in black and white. Abraham told Billboard the settlement protected Selena's dignity and kept private moments private. The storm subsided, leaving a cautious détente, neither warm nor icy, simply functional. On November 4, 2016, thousands crowded Hollywood Boulevard for Selena's posthumous Walk of Fame ceremony. Bright lights, mariachis, and purple roses transformed the sidewalk into a celebration. Chris arrived quietly, escorted by security to stage left. Abraham stood stage right, flanked by Suzette, and AB cameras captured a moment fans replayed for weeks. As the star was unveiled, Abraham extended his hand toward Chris. The handshake lasted roughly 4 seconds, short, tentative, but historic. During his speech, Abraham referred to Chris not as former band member, but as my son-in-law Christopher. Chris, when it was his turn, thanked Don Abraham for keeping Selena's voice alive for new generations. The phrasing mattered. Spanish honorific plus acknowledgement of legacy signaled public respect that hadn't been vocalized since the 1990s. Backstage photos show polite smiles, not hugs. Still, the handshake broke a 21-year pattern of sidestepping each other at memorial events. Entertainment outlets branded it the thaw. Fan forums celebrated with side-by-side gifs, speculating collaborations to come. No joint ventures materialized, but temperature checks at later anniversaries read milder. Neither man disavowed the handshake in interviews, a silent agreement to let that olive branch stay planted. The next sign of détente arrived when Netflix greenlit Selena, the series, in 2019. Q Productions controlled music licensing, but producers also sought Chris's perspective on romance arcs. Contracts arranged separate consultancy roles. Press kits quoted Abraham thanking Chris for musical authenticity, while Chris praised the family for sharing archives. They still filmed interviews separately, yet language shifted from guarded to collaborative. Meanwhile, a different countdown loomed. Yolanda Saldivar's first parole eligibility on March 2025. Texas law requires a review. Parole boards weigh victim impact statements heavily. For the first time, Chris submitted his own letter echoing the quintanilla-pérez call to keep Yolanda incarcerated. KIII-TV confirmed the submission. Abraham publicly thanked everyone, including Christopher, for standing firm. On March 27, 2025, the Texas board denied parole, citing severity of offense. Hours later, Chris posted, "Don Abraham and I are united for Selena. Thank you for every letter that kept her killer behind bars." That evening, Abraham told Univision, "Chris and I stand together to protect her legacy." 29 words combined, but they marked the clearest alignment ever recorded between the two men. Media pickup was immediate. Headlines read "Unity at last" and "Family Front secures parole denial." Fans flooded social media with purple heart emojis and #UnitedForSelena hashtags. Analysts noted the strategic weight. A united family voice makes future parole denials more likely, reducing any lingering narrative of internal dispute Yolanda's lawyers might exploit. With public unity declared, both men hinted at appearing together during 30th anniversary events in 2025 to 26. Specific plans remain unannounced, but the tone has transformed. The widower and the patriarch now speak with one message, upholding Selena's legacy against any threat, side by side. The parole denial triggered an intense media cycle, and both networks rushed to secure exclusive sit-downs. March 29, 2025, Despierta America airs a 10-minute live segment with Chris. Dressed in a simple black jacket and silver guitar pick necklace, he speaks softly yet decisively. Don Abraham and I read many of your letters. Hearing the same love for Selena in every envelope reminded us. Her legacy is bigger than any past tension. We're united for Selena. The choice of words hits two beats. Public acknowledgement of Abraham's title, Don, a Spanish term of respect, and a collective stance. Viewers note the absence of guarded phrasing that once marked Chris's references to the quintanillas. April 2, 2025, fittingly Selena's wedding anniversary date, Abraham appears on Univision's Primera Hora. When asked about Chris's statement, he nods without hesitation. Chris defended Selena at the parole board. That shows character. I respect that, and I respect him. This is the first recorded instance of Abraham publicly using the word respect toward Chris. Analysts replay both clips side by side, highlighting mirrored sentiments. Unity, protection, legacy. Closed captions reveal parallel wording. Proof the alignment isn't media spin, but deliberate language. Retention pointer. The interviews close with intriguing hints. Chris states, "If the family wants my guitar on any tribute stage, I'm there." Abraham ends with, "Our door is open to honoring Selena together." Two invitations issued on national television, all within 5 days of the parole verdict, signal a door now firmly ajar. Public harmony between Chris and Abraham isn't just heartwarming. It carries concrete consequences. Texas parole reviews repeat every 5 years. A fractured family stance could provide defense attorneys room to argue internal dispute over victim impact statements. Unified voices erase that leverage. Parole board spokesperson Raimundo Ortiz confirmed on KZTV that family cohesion strengthens narrative weight during deliberations. From a business viewpoint, brand fragmentation dilutes licensing leverage. A united front streamlines negotiations for documentaries, museum exhibits, and educational grants. According to Variety's March 2025 op-ed, advertisers prefer clear rights pathways. Reconciliation could unlock high-tier partnerships previously stalled by dual approval bottlenecks. Emotionally, unity alters the fan experience. For decades, supporters navigated two ecosystems: Q Productions events and Chris's indie tours. Alignment encourages crossover audiences and reduces toxic fan tribalism that plagued online forums each anniversary. Sociologist Dr. Irma Galvin told Texas A&M Radio, "Shared statements create a social script for fans. Less choose a side, more collective mourning and celebration." Chris underscores the emotional stakes in a follow-up Instagram candidate. "My fight against parole was never about reliving courtrooms. It was about standing wherever Selena's family needed reinforcement. Now the world sees we're shoulder to shoulder." Abraham, when pressed by Corpus Christi Caller Times, replies, "Selena trusted Chris with her heart. If he protects her name, he protects that trust." The takeaway: unity isn't PR gloss. It reinforces legal barriers against Yolanda's future petitions, boosts the commercial health of Selena's catalog, and offers fans a clearer, kinder community, tangible impacts born from a single shift in tone. Harmony does not erase every line. Both camps emphasize independence. Q Productions retains creative control over official Selena releases, box sets, remastered tracks, museum curation, while Chris continues fronting the Chris Perez project and licensing his memoir. During a Billboard June 2025 digital cover interview, Chris clarifies, "A handshake doesn't equal a merger. We're aligned on legacy protection, not blending businesses." Abraham echoes that boundary on KSA-BFM. "Chris has his music, we have ours. Collaboration will happen only when it honors Selena's standards." Lawyers on both sides confirm existing contracts, especially the 2013 memoir settlement, remain intact. Any new joint venture requires fresh paperwork. Financial transparency also differs. The Quintanilla family funnels profits into scholarships and museum upkeep. Chris directs portions of his royalties to victims' advocacy groups. Separate philanthropic paths continue, though both now cross-promote each other's causes on social media. Another subtle sign of mutual recognition. Finally, personal space matters. Chris, remarried and later divorced, maintains a private life in San Antonio. Abraham, in his late 70s, spends most days at the Selena Museum greeting visitors. Neither man has hinted at frequent family dinners, unity centers on public mission, not daily companionship. Clear boundaries actually fortify the alliance. By defining where collaboration ends, both sides minimize fresh conflict. So yes, unity headlines feel triumphant, but they coexist with contractual lines and separate day-to-day lives. Facts viewers need for realistic expectations. Within hours of the dual statements, #UnitedForSelena trended across X, formerly Twitter, amassing 1.2 million mentions in 48 hours. Sentiment analysis tools showed 78% positive, 15 neutral, 7 skeptical. Positive posts featured side-by-side screenshots of Chris and Abraham quoting each other. Skeptical posts asked why unity took 3 decades. TikTok filled with reaction videos. Fans wearing vintage Selena t-shirts filmed themselves tearing up over the handshake gif. One clip of a mother passing her 1994 Amor Prohibido cassette to her daughter gained 4.3 million views. Captioned, "Legacy, secured." Media coverage mirrored public enthusiasm but sprinkled analysis. NPR's Latino USA aired a 30-minute segment titled, "Can Forgiveness Protect a Legacy?" featuring legal experts praising the unified parole stance while psychologists cautioned that reconciliation is a process, not an event. Critics existed. A minority of commenters accused both men of using the parole denial for PR. Yet subsequent interviews muted that narrative. Chris and Abraham declined joint morning show appearances, opting instead for shorter, separate segments. The restraint earned praise from The Hollywood Reporter as dignified absence of self-promotion. Offline, the impact surfaced in museum foot traffic. The Selena Museum reported a 22% visitor spike in April 2025 compared to 2024. Staff cited curiosity about the photo wall, where a new frame showing Chris and Abraham's Walk of Fame handshake quietly appeared. Net effect: mainstream outlets and grassroots fandom largely interpreted the unity as overdue healing, and a reason to revisit Selena's catalog. Spotify streams of Dreaming of You rose 28% that same week, the platform confirmed. April 2025 closed with whispers of a large-scale tribute to mark 30 years since Selena's final Astrodome concert. Corpus Christi's mayor unveiled preliminary plans for a riverfront festival, noting that both Q Productions and Chris's management expressed interest. Suzette Quintanilla teased on Instagram stories, "Big things coming, purple hearts ready?" Chris reposted with a guitar emoji, short but telling. Event organizers, speaking to the Caller Times, disclosed a draft agenda: outdoor museum exhibit, scholarship fund gala, and an all-star concert featuring artists who cite Selena as influence. Negotiations hinge on music rights and scheduling. Terrain previously complicated by dual approvals but now simplified by the new cooperative climate. Documentary possibilities also loom. A reputable streamer, unnamed in NDAs, approached both camps about a single-episode follow-up to Netflix's dramatized series, focusing on Selena's unfinished crossover dream. Insiders say a green light depends on editorial control. However, the parole denial unity statement improved the odds. Most immediate is the next parole review calendar. Although the board denied Yolanda in 2025, Texas statute schedules the subsequent review in 2030. Chris and the Quintanillas confirmed intent to resubmit victim impact packets. This joint pledge keeps fans mobilized and reinforces a public front likely to influence future deliberations. Thus, the path forward glows brighter than at any time since 1995. A united message in legal matters, separate yet respectful business tracks, and potential collaboration on tribute events that could define Selena's legacy for a new generation. For an audience long accustomed to split narratives, the next chapter invites collective celebration instead of divided loyalty. 30 years ago, The news of Selena's murder drew the Quintanilla family and Perez into a storm so loud that individual voices disappeared behind courtroom microphones and breaking news crawls. Since then, the world has watched two parallel timelines. One led by a father determined to protect every note, trademark, and memory attached to his daughter's name. The other carried by a widower whose grief speaks best through guitar strings and quiet interviews. For decades, those lines never fully crossed, each man honoring the same woman from opposite sides of an invisible fence. The 2025 parole denial didn't erase that fence, but it finally created a gate. Two short statements, united for Selena, stand together to protect her legacy, rearranged 30 years of subtext in less than 100 characters. They did not promise weekly family dinners or joint bank accounts. They did not undo tense depositions or erase the sting of a secret courthouse wedding. What they offered, instead, was the simplest currency in any reconciliation: a public acknowledgement that the other party's commitment is genuine. That currency spends well in every arena that matters now. Legally, a united front strengthens each future parole objection with a single voice fans can rally behind. Culturally, it silences the side-choosing that too often shadows online tributes, letting listeners focus on the richness of a catalog that still inspires chart-topping artists. Commercially, it streamlines conversations about documentaries, exhibits, and scholarships that require both signatures but, until now, seldom found both pens willing. Most importantly, the alignment dignifies Selena's story itself. She bridged bilingual audiences long before crossover became a buzzword. She welcomed fans into boutiques like old friends. She signed autographs until venue security had to drag her away. A legacy built on inclusion feels incongruent when stewards appear divided. Today, with Chris and Abraham speaking the same protective language, that incongruity fades. The narrative returns to where Selena always kept it: on music, generosity, and cultural pride. Where does the audience fit into this newly shared mission? Letters to parole boards, attendance at museum exhibits, streaming and sharing the music. Each act reaffirms the unity message. The next 5-year review may seem distant, but every play count spike, every scholarship dollar, every respectful social media thread stores energy for that future fight. Fans were instrumental in 2025. They will be indispensable in 2030. Questions remain. Will a co-produced documentary reach screens? Will Chris step on stage with Los Dinos members during the 30-year Astrodome tribute? Those answers sit in contract drafts and calendar holds still taking shape. Yet even without specifics, the direction is clear. A gate once welded shut now swings, and the two men who hold the hinges share an understanding that Selena's name is brightest when spoken in unison. For more of the latest news, check out this video.